On this episode, we smoke the Las Calaveras 2023, a rich, bold Nicaraguan with a Maduro, Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, and we talk about tobacco seed varietals. I'm Johnny Midas, and you're listening to Burnline Podcast. Burnline Podcast. The burn line on a well-crafted cigar is straight and sharp as a razor, much like our wit and wisdom. And welcome everybody to Burnline Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Midas, along with your other host, Nick the Brick McCann. Coming to you not live from the Hot Box, the smoky back room where deals are struck and fortunes are made, adjacent to the Blanco Lounge, nestled among the complex of rooms that comprises Union Cigar, Hanover, Pennsylvania, USA, the only Blanco Lounge in North America. Nick, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Johnny M, how are you?
I am doing great. Nicky.
Yep, Nick M. You can just call me Nick M.
M.
Yep, yeah.
So you see all this accoutrement that I've got scattered all over the table.
Jeez.
So we got something special today. We are going to prep our palates with quail egg shooters.
Oh, we're doing it first?
We're doing it first.
Oh, my gosh.
So here's what I've got. Man, I wish people could see this. All right, this is real Japanese shit. So I've got...
That's Instagram pic worthy.
Yeah, totally. We got to Insta this. So I've got Hatozaki small batch whiskey. I've got Mizunara shoyu, which is like real soy sauce for those of you that don't know that Kikoman or whatever you get from the store is not actual soy sauce. And I've got some farm fresh quail eggs. So we are going to make this happen right now.
I feel like Liver King.
Oh, yeah. This is like straight out of a quail's ass right here.
All right, so JM is, he's going to pour the...
Here we go.
Hatozaki whiskey first.
A little whiskey.
Japanese whiskey, all right. That's about I'd say about a sixth of the glass. He's filling it.
It's like a tablespoon.
With the whiskey.
Yeah, a tablespoon of whiskey. Oh, all right, 2 tablespoons. It's a Scottish tablespoon.
He's got a heavy pour.
I've got a normal pour, you bempop ball bag.
Oh.
Now I got the shoyu. So this is whiskey barrel aged, and all of this.
What?
Like, in order to qualify, you not only have to use the old-fashioned method of like the buckets in the floor where they ferment it, but it has to be years and years. And this is 7-year aged.
We love fermentation on Burnline.
Oh yeah, and we're just doing an equal. Now, by the way, in case you haven't ever had real soy sauce, you can actually drink this straight.
And he is drinking it straight.
On the salty side, but it's not like the shit you get from the supermarket where it'll just, pucker your mouth closed.
Yeah, but like MSG's the best part about, the soy sauce, man.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Here we go.
I want all that.
Here we go.
These are like little baby. I didn't know quail eggs were that small. I'm a city boy, so.
Yeah, so quails are smaller than chickens. Got my,
Jeez. These are so. This is looks like a robin's egg that you would find in your backyard. Oh my gosh.
And 1 egg in.
Oh, dude.
You can hear that egg cracking on the mic. All right, we got the eggs in.
Thanks, John.
Cheers.
You just
And bottoms up. Cheers. Shoot it. Wow. Whew.
What the? Oh.
I can see why that's a delicacy in Japan.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Everything just went straight down.
And that's why they call it a shooter. I can also see why it's not a delicacy in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, if you maybe like not soy sauce, but you did something else. What do people in this area like?
Mayonnaise. All right, so that was a little special. Normally I would sprinkle gold dust on top, but I actually forgot it this morning, so it was less pretty than it could have been.
Was that a Johnny Midas joke?
No, it's not a joke.
That's
Johnny
how
Midas actually puts gold dust on his food.
Is that how they? Wait. All right. Is that how they serve these shots in Japan?
No, that's how Johnny Midas serves it.
Okay.
If they did quail egg shooters in like Dubai, they would
Yeah,
put gold
sure.
on it.
For sure.
Oh, well, that was really good. Appreciate your adventurous spirit there, and for all of you guys out there in the internets, maybe look this up online or something and give it a shot. It'll definitely make you feel like a badass, and maybe you'll experience some of those flavors that you don't get normally. Particularly, the umami in that shoyu is like it's too much. You have to mix it with something.
Yeah, very savory. Very, very, very rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes these, they're not really pairings, but they're stuff I do with my palate. Is to like wake up certain sections and like get me the experience where I can relate it back to cigars later.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
with the quail egg shooter, you've got the Hatozaki is hard to explain. I would call it similar to a Highland Scotch.
It's a clear whiskey.
Yeah. It's similar to a Highland Scotch. It looks like gin.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's got that slight tinge to it, but it's
Yeah.
almost clear.
Yeah.
But it tastes like a Highland Scotch for folks that aren't familiar with Japanese whiskeys. And so it's got a little bit of that sweet, but also a little bit of that iodine tang. And then the shoyu it's just bursting with that savory.
Yeah.
And then the quail egg is like pure fat, so it's just rich
Yeah.
and creamy.
Yep.
And you threw all those together, and they kind of like, they kind of burst together on the palate.
Yeah,
And
it was
really wakes your mouth up.
3 pretty extreme,
Right.
sensations at once. But it wasn't like, there wasn't a burning from the whiskey, and there wasn't like you said, there wasn't that from the soy sauce. There wasn't
Right.
that, really, oh, geez, I just ate a fucking handful of salt.
Right.
Wow, that was very interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. We do cool stuff on the podcast so that all of our listeners don't have to suffer through it. You can suffer vicariously through us only on Burnline Podcast. All right, so we're smoking the Las Calaveras 2023. This is a fucking awesome cigar. So about the Las Calaveras, like we'll talk about crowned heads, I think, in a little bit. But the Las Calaveras comes out every year, and it's always different. So it's not like cigars where, like you have a cigar, like the Short Story by Fuente, and they're even though they're using different tobacco every year because it's a grown product, they're trying to get it to be the same thing, right? Las Calaveras, not only are they not trying to get it to be the same thing, it's like intentionally different.
Right.
So it's a short release. What did they make? 1,500 boxes in 4 sizes, I think.
I'd have to look that up.
I looked it up. It's 1,500 boxes in 4 sizes. So it's always a limited run. And this year is orange. So they always feature a different color. And they've got this, Dia de los Muertos skull decoration, as the branding for the Las Calaveras, which makes sense. Last year's was that powder blue color.
Yeah. Yep.
The year before that was the yellow. I can't remember if the year before that was purple or I think 2019 was purple. That was one of my favorites. Loved that one. And I actually, as part of a special event, I got a Las Calaveras ball cap. It's like a flat bill. You know what a flat bill cap is. And it was black. It had the skull on the front of it. But the underside of the brim was like a screen-printed woman with, like, dressed up for Dia de los Muertos. It was fucking awesome. So
Looks like 22 was blue, 21 was yellow, 20 was purple, 19 was red, 18 was like lime green.
Yep.
And then is that a black?
Yeah. Yeah, basically it was white, then black, and then they got into the colors.
Yeah.
So I actually have a collection of these that is not here.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Apparently I only go 2 years back, but yeah.
Well, I go back to 2017, I guess, the green.
Nice. That's awesome.
I don't have the white and the black, and those are also before they started putting the footband on.
Oh,
But starting with the colors, I have one of each. They're in storage in Illinois, so I was not able to bring them into the studio. I would have liked to. So before we give this cigar a cut, which I'm really looking forward to getting this lit and smoked because it's a really awesome cigar. But before we do, let's talk about presentation. So this comes in a white lacquered box, kind of your traditional slide top wooden cigar box with a white lacquer and gold print for the Edición Limitada Las Calaveras, and then it has the year and all of that. And at the top they have a sticker. So classic old school cigar box. This sticker has scalloped edges that look like gold coins touching each other all the way around.
Medallions.
Yep. It's orange. It's got the skull and Las Calaveras. So the branding is consistent, carries right through from all the previous years. I think it is a great looking box. The branding, the design is on point. It's on fleek, as they say nowadays.
Wow.
And
You're about 6 years too late.
you didn't know I was that cool, did you?
Jeez.
But what I like about it is it's not too fancy, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's really well done, but it looks like an old school cigar box.
Right.
Not like they're trying too hard.
Las Calaveras means the skulls?
Las Calaveras. No, it means the cowboys, right? Like cavalry.
Does it?
Yeah, like calaveras. That's like Spanish for horse soldiers. Like the cavalry. Cavalry. No, cavalry is something else. We won't get into that.
No, it means the fucking skulls. The skull.
No shit. Yes, Las Calaveras means the skulls, in plural.
The skulls.
The skulls. It has a meaning in the culture surrounding Dia de los Muertos, which is what they're using for the branding here. So I don't know much about the backstory there.
Yeah.
There's probably more than one urban legend around that. I do know the branding's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
It's really unique. It definitely has like a Mesoamerican vibe to it.
As far as cultural appropriation goes, this is
This
top-notch.
Top-notch cultural appropriation right here, let me tell you. So, yeah, they have primarily Mexican decoration on a primarily Nicaraguan cigar that is sold primarily in the United States.
Right, yeah.
So we got the full Monty going on. The cigar itself, starting with like the bands, the main band is really cool. They kind of all look the same, the Las Calaveras bands. And this one, of course, has the orange facing. And it has the gold crowned heads footband, which I'm going to remove. Don't want to light that on fire.
Which is that's pretty consistent among most of their brands.
Yeah.
They have a lot that same footband on a lot of their regular production lines as well.
Which I think is good because if you look at a lot of their products, it doesn't actually like have crowned heads stamped all over it, right?
That's right.
So if you look at this Las Calaveras, that's actually the only place.
Yeah, you see crowned heads.
Is that footband.
Yep.
Right. Which, granted, this is supposed to be a kind of a standalone brand for them. But I really want to draw attention to the cigar itself because this is a gorgeous, like, drop-dead fucking whatever world.
Did we say 652?
Yeah, this is the 6x52 Toro. And this is like if a supermodel was a cigar.
Okay.
So it has a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, and the thing that I will point out is that is probably the cleanest, smoothest, prettiest Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper I can remember seeing. So Connecticut broadleaf is thick and tough, and it's delicious, but it's rustic.
Normally reminds me of like sandpaper texture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this one's like smooth, a little oily.
It's got the model.
A hint of rosado, like a little reddish hue to it. Wow, yeah, this is nuts.
For a Connecticut broadleaf, this is gorgeous. And for our listeners out there, the Tabernacle is, pretty famous Connecticut broadleaf wrapped cigar, the Wise Man, so on and so forth. So that's what you can compare it to. But it looks beautiful. The branding is great, and I think it is time to cut this cigar. So I have got my...
Stop teasing me.
Stop teasing. Let's get this in my mouth. I have got my Perdomo double guillotine backstop cutter. And as always, we remind you to clip that cigar with authority. No limp-wristed clipping allowed. Clip it like you mean it. And, of course, we're going to go ahead and tap the head of the cigar that we just clipped off and get all that loose tobacco out.
I'm going to come up with a proper name for this.
What is the hand job thing getting old?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for like two or 3 weeks now, and I know what I want to name it. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I have to just confirm a couple things.
All right, so I got that all tapped out, and I'm going to toast this with my single soft flame butane lighter. Get that toast going. And while I slowly toast this...
You remember Talladega Nights?
Shake and bake, baby.
Yeah.
You're not first, you're last.
Remember the Big Red commercial? I feel like you're like, if you don't taste dried fruit on your cold draw, then fuck you.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll do the cold draw sometimes. Sometimes I won't. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't add to my experience. And so I often skip it. But I know a lot of guys that really enjoy that, kind of comparing it. So I'm over here. I'm still toasting away for those of you out there on the internet. Nick is just getting started with his X1V rocket engine over there, powered by SpaceX. All right, so we're getting these cigars toasted up. I hope you can join us. If you can join us with one of these and smoke it along, that would be amazing.
Yeah, pick one up at Union Cigar Hanover while they last, while supplies last.
Pick them up while they last. As we mentioned, these are limited. We're smoking the 6x52 Turo, which retails for $14.25 here at Union Cigar, Hanover, Pennsylvania. And these don't typically last long, in my experience, because they're good cigars. Some years are better than others. This year is phenomenal, and I expect that they're going to go because you have the weirdos like me that collect them, but then you also have people that want to smoke them because they're really good. So, all right, we have got this lit up.
Yeah, did you hear that crackle on yours?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
It has me worried, though, because there's some bad things that can result in a crackle when you're smoking.
I mean, wouldn't it just be like a pocket of air, like a pocket of moisture, humidity in one of the leaves?
There's a lot of things it can be, right? One is, yes, there can be a pocket of moisture, which could also mean that there's a damp spot, which means it's going to fuck up when it gets there. It can also be a pinhole in the wrapper. That little pinhole will pop and get a similar noise. Most of the time, it's just cool sounding. It could also be super dry tobacco. That's not the case here.
No.
Thankfully. So we've got these lit up. Man, that is a good cigar. So this is definitely full-bodied. Not all of the Las Calaveras have been. And this is made at My Father Cigars. So another connection there. You know, we've been talking about some of the connections in the cigar industry, and my father made this for Crowned Heads. And Crowned Heads doesn't make any cigars themselves. They have companies around the world make their cigars. And unlike some other companies, they're very open about who they partner with. It's actually a sales point for them.
Yeah, I mean, if my cigars were made at my father factory, I would be
be
open about it too. Yeah.
And usually in the industry, it's usually the other way around, where it's the manufacturer that says, you can't tell people I made this for you.
Right.
And often that's related to price point, because you'll have, and I know some of these, which I can't say on air. It's not fair. It's not right. But I know some, top-notch factories that make some cheap-ass cigars for other brands. And they don't want that brand associating that low price point with their factory.
Right. Or, I don't know. It's probably case by case, right? The owner of the factory might not agree with the blend that they're putting out, but the owner of the distribution company might have, the rights to own the entirety of the blend, and he wants, oh no, we really got to make this Candela, but factory so and so doesn't want that Candela to be on their track record, or I'm sure it's like a big pride thing mostly.
It's branding.
Yeah.
Pride is definitely part of it, but brand management is a multi-billion-dollar business just in the United States. Around the world, probably multi-trillion-dollar business. And so it's important, for like the power levels to remain consistent. Like, so if you think about it, if you're a small brand and you're making a boutique cigar and it's delicious and it's made by my father, both parties benefit because it's a high price point, delicious cigar that my father is proud to say, yeah, we made that.
Right.
And the boutique brand is like, hey, my father's making these cigars. Try it out. If you're like my father, you're like this, right? So it works for both. But if you have a situation where, factories have to keep their employees, they have to keep them busy. They might have overstock in tobacco that they can't use in any of the regular production runs. So they'll make something special. And it's basically, a cost plus model for the producer where they're kind of just breaking even, a little small management fee on top of costs. And so, the cigar doesn't have a name. It's not going to be repeated later because they can't. It's leftover leaves. It's a low price point. Well, it would still benefit the brand to say, hey, this was made by fill in the blank, Placencia.
The distribution brand.
Yeah. But it wouldn't benefit the distribute. Yeah. So, all right. So we're about 1/8 of an inch into this cigar. It is full-bodied, and the first thing, like, this might be a weird tasting note, but the first thing that came to mind and stays throughout the whole cigar for me is it's cool. So for whatever that means, like, this is a cool cigar. It's burning cool. It feels cool. And
not like sunglasses cool.
Not like Johnny Midas cool.
Yeah, right. Like refreshing cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool and creamy.
Wow.
So there's like, like if you took cold buttermilk out of the fridge, and
left it out for 3 days.
No, I'm not going to get that fancy. So that's going along with. So it's surprisingly complex just in this first half inch because to me it's equal parts earth, leather, and spice. Like, there's not a dominant note, but at the same time, it's cool and creamy. So it's a very interesting flavor. Do you taste that sweetness in there?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a woody sweetness.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, this is probably not a breakfast smoke for most people. Good smoke output. I think I clipped a little too much off the end. It's a full backstop. So I usually just stick it in there and clip. But the end was a tad flat.
Mine was super shallow.
Yeah, yours is pretty shallow.
See that?
Yeah. And if you look at my cap,
oh yeah,
it's perfectly cut.
Right.
It's just I like a little back pressure on my cigar. I
Yeah.
talk about this a lot. And I'm not getting quite as much as I would have liked. That's a me problem.
Oh, it's very
so
open.
I clipped it. It's very open.
Oh wow.
Very open. Yeah.
Mine because I guess like old Parejos kind of come to that rounded top, and so I don't want to cut it to the point where the cylinder starts going straight down. I want to cut some of the rounded top part off.
Right, the shoulder we call that.
Exactly. Yes,
and that's what
I wanted to avoid using that term.
Yeah, for all of you nerds out there in cigar podcasting land, that's called the shoulder. Yeah, so I don't really have any shoulder left. I kind of cut it off. That was my fault. But it is an open cigar. And I will tell you, like, I'm getting a little bit of a buzz off of it. Like, this is a strong cigar, man.
Smoke output's strong.
Smoke output is strong.
Yeah.
This is a strong cigar game right here. So I will tell you,
we're gonna have to get Johnny a packet of sugar here.
I know.
Have to take a five.
I gotta take a breather. Fresh air. Yeah. So not a breakfast smoke unless you're Phil. Phil, if you're listening, this is a breakfast smoke for you. For everybody else. So very delightful. Definitely cool, creamy earth pepper leather, and a sweetness on there that. So here's what I'm going to call this. I'm going to call it sweet tobacco. Right. So if you're familiar with sweet tobacco, it has a very unique sugar profile that gets condensed in the leaves as it's like cured and aged. And that's what I'm tasting. Now, it's not, popular to say that a cigar tastes like tobacco. You're not supposed to say that, right? But if you've ever, like in the factories, like when they're blending, they'll roll up a single leaf and smoke it to kind of see how it's going to contribute. And if you roll up one of those sweet leaves, that's what this reminds me of, right?
That sweet, sweet leaf. Yeah, I agree with you. I actually just got a smoky taste to it too, which is really good. But yeah, I guess part of that fermentation is the sugars rise to the surface of the leaf,
right?
And then you can kind of, when they get burned off, they give that flavor off.
Yeah, yeah.
But every cigar is going to taste a little bit like, at least a little bit like tobacco.
Well, yeah, it should, right?
Right.
We're typically pulling out the non-tobacco notes,
Yeah.
right? This just reminds me of a tasting event that I did.
Really?
In a specific leaf, yeah.
Really?
Jumps out at me. So
What leaf was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No. It was I guess it was a Maduro, because it was very dark brown and aged, but it hadn't been conditioned or anything. So old leaf anyway. All right, so here goes. If you took a quart of buttermilk and you dropped in 2 drops of liquid smoke, and then you went to your aloe vera plant and you dug out a tablespoon of soil from that pot and you dropped it in, and then you sliced off 3.5 inches of your leather belt and dropped it in, and then you let it sit in a cool, dark place for 3 months.
Yep.
And then you lit it on fire.
Okay.
And you sort of like flew over the fire in an ultralight.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I'm getting off this cigar.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I try.
We're gonna need an end of season compilation.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah, of all of Johnny Midas's dorkiness.
JM sounding so ridiculous.
And I'm poking fun a little bit at the maestros out there, but it's fun.
Well, I mean, like, so in literature, there was like sensationalism, a period of writing sensationalist pieces, and they would spend like 1.5 pages, 2 pages on a tree,
Right.
describing the tree.
Its bark was barky. It was the barkiest bark.
And I think like being descriptive is, I don't know, it's better to, especially with cigars, like a complex cigar like this, it's better to err on the side of more descriptive than less descriptive, to paint a better picture of, what you're getting out of the cigar. Yeah, but I think what you do is funny and creative.
I'll tell you, the retrohale on this is fucking dangerous. I mean, it feels like I'm about to singe my nose hairs. This is a strong smoke, as you might expect from my father.
Spicy?
Yeah, but it's
Spicy?
spicy sweet, like,
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
It's just strong in the nose.
It's like some
stings the nostrils.
Pungent. Oh, yeah. Ooh, it's a formidable scent. Stings the nostrils. In a good way. Yeah.
It's like some barbecue, spicy sweet.
Yeah.
Some spicy sweet barbecue sauce. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Little kick.
It actually reminds me of beef jerky. right? Because it has kind of that leathery, spicy, sweet thing going on.
Yeah, like when you dunk your beef jerky in milk.
Oh, for fuck's sake. All right, so this is the Las Calaveras 2023. This is a pistol, man. 6x52 Toro from Crowned Heads. And with that, it is time for our tobacconist tip of the week. Nick, take it away. And now, your tobacconist tip of the week with Nicholas McCann.
My tobacconist tip of the week this week is to, if you're going to shop in a cigar store, is to come prepared. And so what I mean by that is, if you're shopping for someone else, get a list together, rifle through their humidor, take pictures, ask them what they like to smoke, ask their significant other, brother, sister, what they like to smoke.
Golf buddies.
Yep. Please don't come in and say, I'd like to buy a cigar for someone, and I need a brown cigar. Like, okay. Well,
that narrows it down.
So, yeah.
No blondies.
No blonde. Yeah, no. Yeah, that means no blondies. So yeah, it makes our job a lot easier as a tobacconist, and it's going to make your gift better.
Right.
You don't want to get a computer geek $150 Chromebook.
Right.
You know, we want to hit the mark. Right. Not only for your benefit, but for our benefit too. Right. Because then you can say, hey, that tobacconist was really helpful. You know, they helped me really narrow it down. They got a good gift, and they were very friendly, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you could come with a list, come with pictures, come prepared, and we can point you in the absolute right direction. Just results may vary if you don't come prepared.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, like, don't fake it. If you don't know, just tell the tobacconist, I don't know. You know, he smokes with his golf buddies, and probably you'll get asked a couple of questions to try to narrow it down, and we'll help as best as we can. Nick, thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about seed varietals as we smoke this Las Calaveras with its Maduro Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. So Connecticut broadleaf is pretty famous, and it's famous for Maduro wrappers, actually. Makes a very powerful wrapper. It seems to be a highly American thing.
Gee, I wonder why.
I don't know. But that taste, this is a strong, spicy Nicaraguan. It's got that sort of sweetie chocolate flavor from the Maduro. Like, that's a very American wrapper. They don't sell a lot of these overseas.
Yes. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. The market over there is more, or the European market's more Cuban centric, right? Anything that smells, looks, or tastes like a Cuban is going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
But here, like, I don't know, we've had to branch out, and so we do the Camacho triple Maduros.
Right. The M81.
Right.
All of that. And so, of course, Connecticut broadleaf is a tobacco varietal. And there's a few different types of tobacco seeds that you'll hear about, and a lot of it is used in branding with companies. So let's get you educated on what some of these seeds are. So
truly, there are thousands of them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands, and only a few that are really advertised.
Worth mentioning.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I think we've talked about in the past, a lot of hybridization going on, a lot of mix and match and throw this batch out, keep this batch. We want to make this trait dominant, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there are some common names that you'll hear, and so let's go through some of these, and we'll start with piloto tobacco. So piloto tobacco is, or piloto cubano is actually the correct name, and it's named after the town of Piloto, and that's in the Pinar del Rio region of Cuba, which is their tobacco growing region, main tobacco growing region. It's known for being robust, full bodied, has some spice. I think I think Piloto is like the default tobacco for, your high-end Cuban cigars. Some of the seeds were smuggled out. It was like the early 60s.
Into DR, right?
Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So you can have Dominican Piloto, and you'll see that as a brand. So same seed varietal, but being grown in Dominican soil.
Right. This is where I get even so confused with the industry. So I think that if they didn't say Piloto Cubano wrapper, would they say a Habano wrapper? Would they say Habano Maduro?
So let's touch on Habano in a little bit. It's a good question because Habano can mean like a lot of different things. That's a branding, not a varietal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because there are words that just mean Cuban seed,
Right.
no matter what the specific varietal or region is.
Right.
But Piloto Cubano is specific to the region, the Vuelta Abajo region, right?
Yeah, it's an actual varietal. Piloto's an actual varietal.
Right.
But it can be grown, those seeds were taken to the Dominican Republic and grown there. And we know as a natural product growing in the ground, it's a dynamic. So Piloto seed, just like if you take Connecticut broadleaf seeds and grow them in Honduras, which they've done, it's not the same as Connecticut broadleaf that's grown in the Connecticut River Valley.
Yep.
Right. But it's similar. You can tell they're related.
Yeah. Same seed, different place.
Yeah. And so the soil, kind of changes the taste and flavor and texture and stuff like that, the weather patterns, all of that. But you can tell, it's like a yellow lab versus a chocolate lab. Like it's still a lab. Like you can
Bordeaux,
tell it's the same.
Like Bordeaux wines only come from that region, right?
Right.
But I'm sure they grow the same grapes other places. They just can't call it a Bordeaux or Champagne.
Yeah, champagne grapes, grown in California.
It's not Champagne.
It's not champagne.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Brut, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so another type of tobacco grown in the Dominican Republic is olor. It's indigenous to the Dominican Republic. So, this was what they were smoking when Columbus or whoever came over. And it's still used in a lot of Dominican cigars. It's actually very sought after. So olor is it's thinner than Piloto tobacco, for example. So it's more fragile, right, of a leaf, but it's known for its complexity and it burns very well. And of course, there's not a ton of it around, given the demand across the world for tobacco. If we really want like good cigars, we're looking at tobacco that's grown in just a few places. When you think about just the total square mileage
Of the earth.
Yeah. To supply. I mean, just think of the population of China
Right.
and they want cigars. It's
a fraction
amazing.
of the land is used.
Yes.
It's almost like what do they say? 90% of the earth is covered in water.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And 90% of the earth that is not covered in water, it also doesn't grow good cigar tobacco.
Right, exactly,
So,
exactly, yeah.
and so, Dominican Republic, it's small, and olor is from there, and you also have to rotate crops and keep the soil right,
Yeah.
So that's olor tobacco.
It says it's used predominantly as a filler, binder and filler.
Because of its burn qualities.
Yeah. Not too. Did you say that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's a great call out. It's not a wrapper.
Right.
Leaf.
Yes, correct.
It's what you make the cigar out of.
Yep.
Corojo. So you've probably heard of Corojo. The Edge by Rocky Patel. I think that was the one that they really hammered the branding, and now a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, we use Corojo."
So Corojo is my personal favorite. For as far as wrapper leaves go, any company that comes up with a Corojo wrapper, I'm gonna try it.
It's a good wrapper. Significantly spicy. So Corojo originated in Cuba,
Right.
but it's not grown in Cuba anymore.
Right.
It's grown primarily in Honduras and Kentucky. So it was used as a wrapper leaf, from the get-go. However, it's fragile. It's susceptible to disease. And so, really, the Habano 2000 was a hybrid that the Cubans came up with from the Corojo. And that's the, if you buy a Cuban cigar and it says it's Habano 2000, which is a hybrid varietal of Corojo, and it's much more robust than what we would call heritage Corojo.
This is where I get so frustrated. So Corojo is Cuban seed.
Yes.
And Corojo itself, right? It could be Honduran Corojo. It could be...
Western Kentucky Corojo.
Sure. And then... you said we'll talk about Habano.
Well, this is the time to talk about Habano. So most companies, when they say Habano, what they mean is the Habano 2000 hybrid.
Yeah, but what seed varietal is Habano? Where's that from?
Well, it is a hybrid that was made from Corojo.
So it's not even... Is Habano its own seed varietal?
Yes.
So they call it Habano 2000, but was it a mix between Habano and Corojo?
No. Habano 2000 is a genetically modified Corojo.
I'm grilling John here.
And it's not the only one. There's other years as well.
Yeah, Criollo 98, Corojo 99, or whatever. There's
a Habano 2002 that I'm aware of. There's some other, right? The hybridization process doesn't stop. And then if you're familiar with hybridization of species, you've got F1, F2, F3, and so on and so forth for the cross hybridization. And then they do back hybridization where they'll hybridize an F4 with an F3 or something like that. It's a real science. So it's a super complicated answer when you ask about Habano. It is a hybrid if you're talking about Habano. It also
always every time?
Yes.
Okay.
Habano's
so
a hybrid.
There's no like original Habano seed.
There's not.
Okay.
As well, it could be grown anywhere.
Habano.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's primarily branding because people want you to think this is a Cuban cigar.
Where did it originate?
In Habano 2000 originated in Cuba.
Okay. So it's Cuban seed.
Yes. Corojo.
Right. Corojo's Cuban seed.
Corojo Cuban seed that was hybridized
Habano is Cuban seed.
into the Habano.
Yeah.
Yes. However, it has been hybridized extensively since.
Sure.
It's grown all over.
Right.
So if you have a Habano hybrid that you can, trace back through generations of hybridization, blah, blah. But, it's been hybridized 17 times and it's being grown in the Dominican Republic. Is it the same thing? No, that's not.
Of course.
So I feel like Habano, when companies talk about this is Habano, like, okay, originally it came from Corojo. It's branding. Like they want you to, Habano, like you're associating it with Cuba, basically. But
right.
Could have been hybridized in Nicaragua. It could have been grown in Nicaragua.
Yeah. Nicaraguan Habano or Ecuador Habano, yeah. Which is why the country is all right, so we'll say African Cameroon. Mm-hmm. Right. Cameroon is a country in Africa, but that doesn't mean it was grown because Cameroon is a seed varietal.
Right.
That just because you say Cameroon wrapper doesn't mean it was grown in Cameroon.
Right.
But because you say African Cameroon, you mean it was grown in Africa.
Right.
But you could also have Ecuador and Cameroon.
Well, we have this problem with a lot of stuff that comes from the ground, right? So champagne, right, is from Champagne, like you mentioned. How about brandy, right? So brandy is distilled from grapes, right?
Yeah.
So you have wine that you make, and then you distill the wine to make the brandy. Well, cognac can only be called cognac if the grapes were grown in the cognac region, the wine was fermented in the cognac region, and then it was distilled into brandy in the cognac region.
Right. It's just like the bourbon.
Yeah. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey has to have a certain mash bill.
Yeah.
Charred oak barrels in Kentucky. Right.
Right.
Well, they don't follow those rules with cigar tobacco, and that's what makes it a little confusing. So, if you could only call it Cameroon if it was Cameroon seed grown in Cameroon, Africa, then Cameroon is Cameroon. Everybody's all the wiser, right?
Yeah.
But you can take Cameroon seed and you can grow it in fucking Jakarta, Indonesia.
Exactly.
Call it Cameroon, right?
But that doesn't make it African Cameroon.
It's not African Cameroon. And it's totally different because the microbiome determines a great deal of the taste of the tobacco. And that's why they talk about different areas of Nicaragua. I don't know if you've seen Nicaragua on the map recently. It's not very big, right? So you're going from one valley to the next, and same seed, totally different tobacco leaf, totally different taste because the microbiome is different, right? So it does make a difference, and that's why the Habano conversation is complicated.
And I understand 100%, and I 100% agree with you. It's about branding, but like they'll throw Cuban seed out there to confuse people or to convince them to buy their stuff, right? That's how they can put Cuban on their cigar without it actually being a Cuban, right? This seed hasn't been grown in Cuba for 75 years, but it's Cuban seed, and so like it's
not anymore, right? So for folks that aren't familiar with husbandry, you can take a seed from anywhere, but then you're growing it in a new region, and there's feedback, there's biofeedback through epigenetics where the next generation of seed is different because it came from a plant that grew in a different region, in different soil, with different climate.
Right.
And then, a few generations down the line, it's not the same thing. So you can take a pin oak that grows, in northern Maryland, and you can transplant it to the West Coast, and, 5 generations later, it is a different type of tree. Right? Because there is biofeedback. So I agree. It's like a marketing branding thing.
The depths that we're treading right now are closer to science than they are cigars.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is full blown genetics. This is full blown.
And it's really it's the backbone of the industry that it's not sexy, and so we don't talk about it. Like I want to sit in my country club with an expensive cigar and play the big man, and this is awesome and delicious. And by the way, I have disposable income. I can smoke a cigar. Cool. But meanwhile, in the background, there's generations of farmers that know how soil and seed and weather work together, working to bring you that awesome product. But then they also have to sell it and brand it, right?
Yeah. They have to hide that almost.
Oh, totally.
Or not hide it, but all right, let's not focus on that.
Well, it's like, your tobacco that's grown in Kentucky. Unless it's a Kentucky fire cured, they're not advertising that.
Right.
Because it's not sexy.
Nobody wants tobacco from Kentucky.
Yeah, it's Kentucky, man. Right. All right, so let's move on to Criollo. So you'll also hear Criollo a lot.
Also Cuban seed, if I'm not mistaken.
Shit. So, it gets weird, right? So it is believed that Criollo is the original Cuban seed in Cuba, like when Columbus landed. Yeah. Okay. However, and also, while we're on the topic, Criollo was a filler, right? It was not traditionally used as a wrapper. Yeah. However, Criollo actually means native seed. And so you will have all kinds of cigars that advertise Criollo, native seed. It is not Cuban Criollo. So Nicaraguan Criollo, which is famous, is grown in Jalapa. That's on the Honduran border. It's quite sweet. You've got Criollo from Esteli. That's much more like earthy, nutty flavor. Honduran Criollo is famous for being like creamy and smooth. And it's also it's surprisingly it's gained popularity as a wrapper. People are starting to use it as a wrapper. Traditionally, it was used as a filler.
Yeah.
So this is another one that's confusing because if they say Criollo, it doesn't mean that it's Cuban Criollo. It just means native seed, and a lot of the time it's like this is the tobacco that was here in this country.
All right. So there's Criollo is a seed varietal, right? Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! All right, that was supposed to be the easy answer.
Well, this is about language, extension, and intention.
I understand.
With an S.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So Criollo is a seed varietal. Mm-hmm. Criollo is also a word. Mm-hmm. And so when they say or advertise something as Criollo, they could either mean seed varietal Criollo or native seed Criollo.
Yes, which could be any tobacco.
Yeah.
Like wild strawberries. They're strawberries. They just happen to be growing in this field.
Right? Yeah. So Man, see, this is where the industry gets so confusing.
I think the industry could do a lot better job here.
Oh my god! If
honestly.
there, yeah, we need an anthology, a collection of books about this.
Yeah.
Where someone just lays it out and says, "This is the law." We need the
Right, right.
Let's get
That sounds French.
Don Pepin, Carlos Fuente, and Jorge Padron
Right.
together, and they're gonna write this book. We're gonna lock them in a room for 6 months, and then when they come out, we're gonna have all the answers.
All right, it is time to talk about Habano. And before we do that, let's touch back on this cigar, which I'm just about done with the first third. It continues to be strong. It continues to be robust. The flavors haven't changed much for me. They're all there. Really a delicious cigar. All of the flavors play well together. None of them is like drowning the other one out. And you can kind of select what you want to taste if you want to on each draw. I'm going to look for the leather this time. I'm going to look for the pepper. So fantastic cigar. If you like strong cigars, I will tell you that we're recording this in the morning, and it's heady. I'm getting a little buzz off of it. So, all right. So Habano and Habano 2000. So Habano was born in Cuba. It's mostly a wrapper leaf. It's kind of known for its like spicy, rich flavor. It's been grown in Nicaragua since the 90s, and it's actually technically the first hybrid. Habano 2000 is a cross between Corojo and a nondescript Cuban tobacco that was much milder but was very resistant to disease. So that's how they came up with that first hybrid, the Habano 2000. And really what the reason they kind of had to make it, because the Corojo got attacked by blue mold, and like entire crops were lost, and they were in deep shit. So the Habano 2000 seeds made their way to Ecuador, Nicaragua, Honduras, and there's multiple hybrids of Habano now, and generations of hybridization of Habano. If you're looking for a cigar that uses this, the Avo Heritage or the Ashton Heritage Puro Sol, those are two good cigars that use the Habano 2000 wrapper. They use Ecuadorian Habano for their wrappers. And both of those cigars are noted for like the chocolate taste on them. So that's your Habano 2000. All right. And then we will just wrap it up with Sumatra. So
nice.
We've got a lot more to go. We'll finish up next week.
You didn't expect me to throw a fit today, did you?
No, I didn't expect you to throw a fit. So Sumatra is interesting because it was originally found in Indonesia. Obviously, Sumatra is in Indonesia. It's a black tobacco. And so this is different because the other tobaccos that are used in cigar making are not black tobacco. It is easily the most popular is Ecuadorian Sumatra. So they took the Sumatra seeds, they grow it in Ecuador, which is a better environment for growing cigar tobacco. And it's primarily used as a wrapper leaf. It's dark, oily, spicy. The Ashton VSG is probably the most famous. You can pick those up a lot of different places. And
Stolen Throne uses a couple, I think both the Call to Arms and the Three Kingdoms are Sumatran wrappers.
Right.
Yeah.
Ecuadorian Sumatra.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the thing that stands out about Ecuadorian Sumatra is just the complexity of the flavor. So it's well known for like cedar, raisins, coffee, pepper, like a lot of flavors rolled into this tobacco.
It's super earthy.
It's super earthy,
Yeah.
And another famous cigar that uses this as a wrapper would be the Decade from Rocky Patel. So if you're interested in tasting some of these tobaccos and kind of seeing what the difference is, you can pick some of these up. But that's Sumatra tobacco. So most of the Sumatras that you see nowadays are not grown in Indonesia. There are cigars, like they will advertise Indonesian binder or filler or something like that. I am not a fan of tobacco that's grown in Indonesia. I've just never really liked the taste. But Ecuadorian Sumatra is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we still have plenty of tobaccos to go through. Rosado, Cameroon, Connecticut Shade, Broadleaf, and we will hit those up next week. But for now, it is time to touch back on this cigar, give our closing thoughts, and give it a rating. So, Nick, tell me about your flavor and experience with this Las Calaveras 6x52 Toro.
I mean, I think you've covered everything. It's a combination of flavors. It's not monotone. It is very intricate. It's very layered, and I think that kind of the leather, the earth, the subtle sweetness, the hint of spice, it all comes through at certain points. Like you said, like you can kind of look for, like, each puff kind of brings a different flavor to the forefront, and I think it's just really well done.
So, as I move into the second third, which this is a slow burner, so we've been smoking this about 45 minutes, and I'm just into the second third. A couple of things that have changed for me. One is it seems to have settled down a little bit. I don't know if I'm getting adjusted to it, but like that first half inch, I mean, I was getting a real buzz, and that's tapered off. The other thing is on the retrohale, do you know when you start up your grill and you didn't clean it last time?
Always.
Yeah, you know that scent you get of like charred meat that just got lit on fire again?
Yeah.
That's actually present on the retrohale. So now that I'm in the second third,
It's a little bit smoky flavor.
yeah. It's a rich charred meat,
Yeah.
smoky tinge to it.
Right.
But it's combined with a little bit of oak, which tames it down a little bit. Quite delicious and unique. I always try to think of what other cigars I've smoked that taste like this when I'm smoking cigars, and this one's pretty unique. I'm having trouble
Absolutely.
like associating it with anything else.
Yeah.
Which, I was afraid that I would smoke it and be like, oh, it's the Judge,
Yeah,
oh,
right,
it's
right.
Garcia, because it's a My Father product, and it's not.
Right.
It's a refreshingly unique smoke. So on that note, I think it is time to rank this cigar, and we rank our cigars on a scale of 1 to 10 across 5 dimensions, giving a possible maximum score of 50, which we do on purpose so that you don't confuse our superior ranking system with the fluffy, subjective bullshit that you get from other companies that use a 100-point.
I can't even
ranking
count to
system.
100.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many shoes do you have to take off?
Jeez.
And we'll start with presentation. So, Nick, what is your score for presentation on this Las Calaveras 6x52 Toro 2023 edition?
All right, this is my complaint. This band the color of this band is too similar to 2021.
Okay.
This yellowish orange is too close to the yellow that they used. So it's going to lose points for me. I love, generally speaking, the Las Calaveras branding. It's just too close. There's so many colors out there. Like, let's go drastically different before we have to get closer and closer to the same colors we used before. So I would have rather have seen a burgundy.
Burgundy?
Yeah.
Chartreuse.
Yeah. Insert color here. So that's my only complaint. It's really it's a great box. Year after year, the design is awesome. But I got to give it a 7. I really wish that I wish that they would have gone in a more standout direction. I was looking in my humidor for what is that, 2021?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I have 2023s in here? And then, like, I did a double take, and I was like, wait, that's 2021. Oh, never mind.
Fair enough. I think you're colorblind, but your opinion is noted. All right, so The cigar itself, the wrapper alone, is a 10. Absolutely gorgeous cigar. I agree. I think the orange is great and it stands out. But when you put it in a line with the others, which I do because I collect them, you're right. Not only is it similar in color, but it's like 1 year removed.
Yeah.
Right? So you have this powder blue in the middle separating them.
Yeah.
And on the color palette, it doesn't go. And I know that sounds like really picky, but you went from white to black to red, which was all primary colors. And then you went to this green that was not. It's actually it would be a tertiary tint of green.
Like a very lime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as you go through, then the yellow is another primary color. So you have white, black, you have like lime green, then you have red, which is a primary color. Then you have purple, right, which is not, right? It's a secondary.
Right.
And then yellow, so you're back in the primary color wheel. And then you have powder blue, which is, a tertiary.
Awesome color.
And then you have orange, but it's a
yellow orange.
It is. It's a tint, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you that are not familiar with color mixing, a shade is when you add black to a color, and a tint is when you add white. And so I actually agree. Like, it kind of doesn't go. Like, if you look at all of them in a row, this one sticks out like a sore thumb. So I don't know what they'll balance it with next year.
Yeah, they need to go to their local Bear outlet and get the color
wheel.
Yeah.
So and then the box is great. It's not superb. It doesn't stand out. It's not extra special. It's just a nice, honest, well done box. I give it an 8 for presentation, and we don't do fractions, so its total score there is an 8. How about price at $14.25? Nick, what do you think about the pricing on this stick?
LE, man, this is a good price, really good smoke for a limited edition. I think they could freaking jack it to 18 and get away with it. So I think it's a good price. I'll give this a 9. Anytime I'm paying under 15 for a limited edition cigar, I'm real happy about it. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It is a great price point for a really excellent cigar, and it is a My Father cigar. Very well made. We'll talk about construction next. Delicious, unique, strong, robust. I give it a 9 on price there. And with that, construction. So Nick, tell me about your construction.
As I touch it up for the second time, I think. I've been complaining a lot this episode about seed varietals and whatnot, so it's like I'm 50-50 between this being a user error or a little off construction, but my wrapper hasn't burned. It's basically run. One side is run, and the other side is not burning twice now, so I got to give it a 7, but like I said, this could be me. This could be the construction.
All right, fair caveats. My construction is excellent. There is a little split in the cap wrapper right there. It didn't come loose, so I wasn't tonguing it or anything. It's not perfect, and I actually think that was the popping sound. I think when I drew that hot air in, that's what was popping. Burn line has been good. I did touch it up once or twice, but that's because I'm yapping my head off on a podcast. Yeah. Smoke output is great and consistent. No issues with draw or anything. So I give this an 8 for construction. How about flavor? Nick, tell me about flavor.
Really awesome flavor. This is a late afternoon or after dinner cigar. I think that it would pair really well with probably not quail egg shots. I think like a rich bourbon or a rich whiskey or scotch would go really well with this. Yeah, I got to give it an 8. I really want to see, and maybe we can do this. I really want to see what this is like in 6 months, and then I want to see what it's like in a year.
Oh yeah, keep it in the humidor for a while.
Yeah,
I'll bet it's going to age fantastic.
Just like the flavors are going to merge together, they're going to marry, and it's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be really good.
Yeah, now that you brought that up, That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's a great plan. Okay, so flavor. On the high notes, the flavors are strong, recognizable, delicious, play well together. It's very evenly balanced. On the, I guess, downside, it is strong. So if you don't like a strong cigar, you're not going to like this cigar. This is full in every sense of the word. It's full strength. It's full flavor. It's full body. And then also it is it is the same flavor throughout. I didn't detect much change there. Right. I do like my cigar to change while I'm smoking it. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but I like to experience a little flavor change as I go along.
You like the thirds, the distinct
I like the
thirds.
yeah. So points for consistency, but also points off for consistency there. So I've got an 8 for flavor as well. Great flavor. I mean, 8 is a good score.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect. And then how about experience, Nick?
Like you, I think I'm a big fan of this release every year. Mm-hmm. The lore that they built up with it, right? Can you find all, 8 or however many they released?
Right.
I think is awesome. They've done a really good job of making it limited but accessible. And the flavor, the flavor was good enough to contribute a positive note to the experience. Overall, I'm a fan of this, so I'll give it a 9.
9 for experience from Nick. Yeah, so we talk about cigar use case a lot. This is definitely not a do something else cigar. For one thing, it's too strong. If you're trying to smoke this while doing yard work, forget about it because you're going to be choking and getting lightheaded. Probably not even a back porch cigar, maybe, but I would want to get the environment right.
Yeah.
I look at this as much more of a come to the lounge, enjoy it, have a place to sit down because it is strong. So be in a safe space. But
have a blanket nearby.
Yeah, but also not like a celebration cigar or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not like that special.
Well, it's also too strong.
You think so?
Yeah, I wouldn't smoke this at a wedding or something like that because you have to have a lighter cigar. You're doing other stuff. You're talking to people. Yeah. Last thing you want is to be a little green in the gills,
right.
For something like that. And I don't think it's a golf course cigar.
No, not in this heat. Oh, man.
No. So I do think it's a limited use case. I give it an 8 for experience. I had a great experience. But it does have, I think it has limited ways to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So if you're into the let's have the Las Calaveras party that we have every year, fucking awesome.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's almost its own use case.
Yeah. Yeah. Once a year, we smoke the new Las Calaveras.
Right.
We put 4 away. We pretend that we know what the cigar's about, and then next year we'll try the next one.
Yeah. And put a couple in the humidor and taste last year's after it's aged a year. Yeah. So overall, that gives this Las Calaveras 2023 6x52 Toro from Crowned Heads a score of 42, which is a pretty good score.
That's high.
Yeah, it's a high score. You can pick one up for $14.25 here at Union Cigar, Hanover, Pennsylvania, USA. Give it a shot. Let us know. Be sure to drop us a line at burnlinepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Burnline Podcast. We would love to hear from you, get your feedback. As always, thank you for joining us on Burnline Podcast. We will see you again next week.